Mookie has to be the host because Mookie's recording.
Oh. Okay.
And we're back from our break, little bitches. We about to get back on track right here. You know what I'm saying? Right now, Vinny's about to take back over, go down his road. He's about to go back, way back in the day, back in the 1800s. I don't know why he only went to the 1800s, but he's going back to the 1800s. He's about to
What would you want to do this earlier? How could we make that interesting? Something earlier than that? Because really, blues was created at the end of the 1800s, and that is where all modern music stems from. Am I right or am I wrong? So where would we go prior to the 1800s in that sense?
Back to Africa.
See, but we already know, like, we already know where our music came from.
But everybody else might not know.
You know what, Ari? You're the smartest person I know. And you're also the nicest person on this podcast.
Oh, thank you.
Bullshit.
Mookie, ain't nobody
I am
asked
nice.
you.
I am nice. Y'all motherfuckers be calling me a bully.
You just literally called me a motherfucker. Like literally. I want you to realize that what you just did contradicted what you just said. You literally called me a motherfucker. I, ma'am, have never fucked my mother, and I take offense that you would say that.
That's where the term actually came from too. That's the shitty part.
My bad. Go ahead, Vinny.
That was just, oh man. Sometimes life is good. Today is one of those days. So where was I? Oh yeah, I asked D a question and he didn't answer.
Are we gonna pretend that white folks recorded history is how we're going to frame the narrative?
Absolutely not. Why do you think the kind of music that I listen to is called Afro-Cuban?
Well, I'm asking because your question distinctly started pointing out which music came first. So what came first?
No,
jazz?
that's not what I said at all.
No, you absolutely said that all music came from blues.
All modern music came from
in
blues.
the
Yes.
1800, right? That's what you said. But are we going to say that when the slaves were permitted to have used and broken instruments, and they used to attempt to make their own sounds and grooves and melodies and melodic riffs with a guitar that maybe had 4 strings instead of 5, 3 strings instead of 5, which is where the music comes from, that they were playing the blues? Or are we just going to say that they were playing music? They were transferring and carrying on traditions that had accompanied them and comforted them for years. And all of the music kind of sprouted up at the identical time. Like you start talking about, like, what is jazz? What is the blues? Because if you're going to put a price tag on it, what you said was a date. But that date is arbitrary because that's what the white folks said. Literally,
Okay. Now I'm gonna re-ask you the question that I asked you before.
But I'm not gonna answer it.
Then I'm not gonna ask it again.
Okay. We can go down the blues road. Like, let's go down the blues road. Let's explore what the blues is. Let's explore how we got the term rhythm and blues. Let's explore why jazz is called jazz.
Why is jazz called jazz?
Does anyone besides me and Vinny know why jazz is called jazz?
No, but I would like to know.
It's short for jackass.
Seriously?
Yep.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's what the white folks was calling the niggas who was playing the broken fucking instruments without any formal education on the instruments. Because yeah, I mean, you gotta figure like you have shit like the waltz and all of these like quote unquote white concepts of them playing particular instruments and large accompaniment type settings like symphonies and shit and orchestras. They were doing these things. So all during that time, there are black folks around playing music as well. But you know, you start talking about dates and times and particular genres, that's when you start getting into, okay, this is the white man's recorded history. So what are we really talking about here? Like they say Beethoven did not write all of the symphonies at all.
I believe it.
He penned part of those symphonies that he is known for. Tchaikovsky, Bach, all of them, they did not write them alone. During those times, those white people had access to what? Slaves who were penning and fixing and keeping the rhythm and keeping the time. That's so we just skip past all of that. I'm cool with it. I was just asking Vinny a question. I just wanted to know where we was going. We can talk about the blues all day, at least for the next 20 minutes.
Which is technically not all day. Yes, I win. Once in my miserable fucking life. So yeah, I was saying that in modern times, all music basically stems from the blues. I was not as versed in the European music as you are. So there's that. That's why I didn't approach that, because it's not something that I know about. And I didn't want to, like, you just taught me something that I didn't know. I did not know that those writers were accused of not writing all of their.
No, I didn't say they were
composers.
accused of anything.
No, I know.
Listen to what I said. No. We know this to be fact. It's not an accusation, because once upon a time in America, even a patent could only be owned legally by a white man. Like, we know this to be fact. Women were not allowed to write books. That's why you had women writing under pseudonyms that had men's names. 50, 60 years later, all comes out, this woman wrote this book under this man's pseudonym. That is the same identical thing that occurred to the great composers of Europe and other areas over there across the pond. Like, they had scraps. Like, I know no one thinks Beethoven sat there, played that shit, wrote that shit, scribed it, kept a log of it. Like, nobody believes that. Nobody, like, everyone knows better. Like, I would hope. Hence, you get to I'm giving you my broken instruments, and based on the tonality of the broken instruments, which you don't know how to tune, you start playing music. But now, what music are you playing? There's no word to define what's being played with broken instruments from people who aren't allowed to record their own history. Who were herded like cattle. That was what I was saying. But like I said, we could get up to the blues, like boom, jump into the blues and shoot from there. Or
sure?
Not.
You sure?
Well, this is what happened. You said I said something, and I'm gonna always correct if you misspeak about what I said. You can say whatever you want, and they can be wrong as fuck, as long as you don't say I said.
Okay, I'm with it. I'm down. I'm down like 4 flat tires on this one.
So what we bluesing about?
I mean, really now I just, kind of feel like an idiot. So I'm gonna sit here and sip my
No.
ginger
This
ale.
is your topic. Don't do that. What I'm saying, at the end of the day, when you make the statement, you lead off the statement saying, "So you said," I'm immediately going to correct. That's like when you're talking to a woman and she'd be like, "Well, basically, no, bitch, not basically. I said what the fuck I said. Don't summarize what I said. If I just said some shit that and you didn't understand it, you don't get to summarize. Like, Rookie, tell me the summary of Game of Thrones.
Everybody died.
Okay, you see how simple that summary was, but that wasn't the whole goddamn point, right? Like, don't summarize what the fuck I said. There's 8 seasons of that shit. Like the fuck? That's not what we finna do. So feel free, and you say some wrong shit, I don't even say wrong, incorrect. You say something incorrect, it is what it is. I can care less. If you say I said something, I don't want the listener to pop in and cognizantly start processing the information from that point and believe that I said that. I didn't say that. Like, that's not what I said. That's what you said. That's what you believe. That's what you took from what I said. I'm cool with that. So basically,
My God, I don't know. Why?
it's okay. Just bite down and bear it. It's okay. You good. Keep going. Keep pushing. Keep rising to the top. And you don't stop. A hip hop. So one time for your mind.
I don't even know where I want to go now because there's so many things flying around and topics flying around in my head now.
Don't let them fly around in your head. Swat at them bitches and start talking about the goddamn movie.
Yeah.
Benny,
My ADHD is not going to allow that, sir.
Benny, what about
Yes.
Robert Johnson?
Robert Johnson. Who's that?
I went down to the crossroads, fell down on my knees.
Robert Johnson was a blues singer, songwriter, who the legend has it is that he sold his soul to the devil.
Oh, I remember. Okay, I remember that now.
But like he was influenced by like Eric Clapton, Bob Dylan, motherfuckers like that.
No, he influenced those
rock
guys because he came way before him. I think he was in late 30s, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Mid to late 30s. And didn't they do something in a movie that was like paying homage to him?
Homage?
Whatever. Listen, man, I'm a dirty spick. I mispronounce shit all the time and I'm okay with it. All right. Let's just move forward.
Don't be so hard on yourself, Benny. It's okay.
Oh no, I'm cool with it. Like I cannot when you count and you say 1, 2, what's the next number?
3.
Uh-huh. I can't say it without rolling the R in it. Because that's how I was at 3. I can't say it any other way. Because that's how I was raised to say it. It's like I crack on my grandmother all the time because of the words that she uses are absolutely insane. She cannot say the word throat. She has to say throat with a K on the end. She says it doesn't even sound right when she says it the other day. I said, well, Grandma, that's not how it is in the dictionary. But anyway, I digress. So, moving on. Robert Johnson was, I would say he was like masterclass level. Like that was the level that he was. And then, you know, moving forward from that, I mean, you got he literally influenced everything. He damn near, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, he damn near created or popularized the blues. Like, that's what people were trying to sound like after him. They were trying to sound like him.
Are we still talking about Robert Johnson?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
You know, shit. I can't even think of his name. Might have been Duke Ellington or something. Who was the artist who, when he wrote his music, he put notes inside of notes so people couldn't copy his music?
I have no idea. But that is. I'm sorry?
She said he might know.
Of course, but I'm not playing this game right now.
It's not the game. I really can't remember. What? Come on, man.
No, we're moving on. We're letting Vinny get his show on the road. Vinny, get your show on the road.
You know what's funny? Even when you let me run the thing for a minute, you still make me look stupid. So I'd like to thank you for that.
Nobody's making you look stupid, damn it. Get your show on the road. I need you to blues it up, Vinny. I need you to blues it up so we could jazz it up, so we could get to what is commonly considered more secular pop type music, so we could get to rap.
Okay.
So what he wants to do is he wants to talk about rap.
Okay, let's talk about rap. There ain't nothing wrong with that. We could go straight to rap. That doesn't bother me.
Okay. So no, I don't want to talk about rap. What I'm saying is, at the end of the day, you attributed the blues thing to a singular entity, when the reality of the situation is blues was born and bred in the fields of slavery. They were singing call and response music like this young man I met 20-something years ago. I would ask him to do some shit for me, and he would fucking get him and his cohorts, and they'd be like, Master got me working. Yeah, days never finished. And they would be doing that shit. And I would be like, yes, Mookie, I'm talking about you, bitch. It would just be one of the most annoying fucking things ever. But it warmed my soul that these men were banding together in call and response, because the day was never finished and Massa had them working in the heat all day long. And then one person was thrust to the forefront from that large group of spiritual understanding that all of the slaves had, and was given the opportunity to strum the guitar, that produced 19 songs. And they're supposed to, the rumor is the lost 20th song that, you know, the devil and blah, 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 and he sold his soul and he didn't get what he wanted. And the harmonica player, like, cause you gotta think to yourself, like the blues is really the guitar, the slide, harmonica, and that's it. It comes later, the other shit. So I was trying to get you to get up to the point where you get into the jazz thing, the more orchestrated aspect of free fusion of music from the slave fields. And then you got to think to yourself, slavery was going on for 200 something fucking years. All of a sudden, at the end of slavery, people were not just singing call and response. This was something that was happening through the entire time slavery existed, which is why I said you start talking about music, you gotta understand, you're talking about it through the lens of white folks. Like it's really hard when you start putting dates on things to start talking about it, because prior to 1860 something, niggas was getting counted like cattle. I've seen the paper, Mookie. You've seen the paperwork. I showed it to you.
I saw it.
Right. We were effectively cattle. When you died, you were willed as belongings to a child, another child, belonged to the plantation that you was on, shifted, traded in plantations during the marriage, the whole shebang, listed one male buck, female heifer, 4 buck children. Like, yeah, that's what happened. Those folks were singing and playing instruments. That was the blues. It got called the blues because it was so melancholy and sad. And the folks were singing about their fucking pain because that's all the fuck they knew. That's why I was like, it's not like, I'm about to sing about my girl because my girl left me. Nah, I'm singing because this master just fucked my wife and sent this little yellow bastard in the house and sent my wife off to get ripped apart, about to fucking get quartered off with the horses. So I'm fucking traumatized. That's why I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, but the tone of my voice and the pain that I'm feeling is being sheared across the entirety of the plantation while we out here in this field working. And we gonna get through this day, because like Mookie used to tell me, days never finish. Master got me working. Master wants to set me free. Look, you was an asshole for that. I was so not cool, bro.
I forgot I did that.
I didn't. I think about it every goddamn day.
I did that
every day when I'm driving on my way to work in this state that I live in, when I be seeing them fucking cotton fields and them corn fields and them tobacco fields, all that land, when the houses with the pillars sitting catty corner overlooking like 60 fucking acres, and then there's a little stream, I be knowing what the fuck that was on the way to work. I digress though.
Before you move on, I just want to throw out there, don't nobody ask me about that fucking song. Don't ask me about that song. I'm not the same motherfucker I was then, so don't ask me about that fucking song. Don't do it. I'm not the same. I'm not that same guy anymore.
I think I'd really like to know about that song.
You were surely leading that call and response, sir.
Oh, somebody had to. If not me, who? But anyway,
that's how you feel.
But anyway, I digress. And I'm serious. Like, don't ask me about the fuck. Don't do it. Don't do it. Listen.
But I want to know about it.
It ain't none of your motherfucking business, people.
Nobody gets to know.
Here you go. Moving on. So now we're at jazz, and we're having a drug-fueled experience. Wild chords, wild notes, just going crazy with what we're able to play. We've learned to control a little bit more string-wise and horn-wise. We've been allowed to learn a couple things. So now you're gonna throw some horns out here and do your thing. And we get the greats like, Miles and Dizzy Gillespie and all these folks. And, it was great and wonderful. So take it over, Vinny. Take it away.
Yeah, right about then is when Machito came out and Afro-Cuban jazz became incredibly popular. And it mixed African drums with like jazz and blues harmonies, techniques, you know, like the way that people were just making stuff up. What is that?
That's my bad. That's me.
Okay. Sorry, I thought maybe I was getting like a shut the fuck up timer or something. I don't know.
Sure goes that.
But I always find it very impressive that that our music evolved alongside of each other. So I've always really liked that, because jazz and Latin jazz came together, and I always thought it was a great culmination when there's a group out of Puerto Rico called Fania All Stars, and Stevie Wonder played piano with them on a track, and I will never forget it because he wore that piano down. I think it was in the 70s when it started to become really popular. But I am jumping ahead too far because I got excited about something. Sorry about that. So who would you consider some of your jazz favorites?
Well, I'm gonna throw it out there. I don't really consume jazz enough to say I have a favorite. So that way I can just say I did answer the question.
I guess that's okay.
That was my answer. Sorry.
I got you.
I don't consume it enough to be like, oh, well, I know this and this person. Because I know. You could name a jazz person right now, and I wouldn't be able to tell you who he was.
Well, Dizzy Gillespie was actually one of the he was a huge influence in not only in jazz but in Afro-Cuban jazz as well, in Latin jazz. He had a percussionist, and that percussionist kind of split off and started to do his own thing with Latin music, and then it progressed from there. And that was in like the late 1940s, I think, if I'm correct. Yeah, because that's when Dizzy Gillespie was popular. So I feel like I'm talking to myself.
Well, you're
talking
educating
to the
us.
listeners.
Yeah, you're educating and we're listening.
Oh,
Yeah, you're educating. We're listening.
okay.
You're not gonna talk about Tito Fuentes? Well, come on.
That's
man.
that's later. That's later. We weren't there yet. Tito Fuentes comes much later. We're talking almost 20 years after that. So, but you're talking like early Latin music gave birth to, or early Latin jazz gave birth to a style of music called bolero, which is like slow music. And then my personal culture's music, Puerto Rican music, is something called plena, which is really just a bunch of drums. Like it's like 10 people standing around with different tones of drums all playing together and hitting it at the same time, because it's not just, it's tribal, because it's not African, and it's well, it's got African influences and it's got Taino influences, which Taino is the name of the people that were here before, you know, like that's who Columbus met when he stole the country. So
according to the white man. Go ahead.
what do you mean according to the white man?
Go ahead, man.
You gonna tell me that Taino Indians weren't here, or Taino natives weren't here?
Man, go ahead. You've gone down a road that we don't want to go down.
Anyway.
You seen that, right, Mook?
Right.
No, the time thing.
Yeah, no, I seen it. Oh
Okay.
shit. No, I didn't see that one. Yeah, now I see it.
Okay, yeah, fucker.
My bad, Jesus.
So Vinny, are you on Tito yet? And I'm asking, are you on Tito? Because Tito was born in the 1920s. See, I know this for a fact, and I know by the time the 50s happened, which is only 10 years after what you said, he was popping. He was the dude. Because by the time we get to the 60s, we're in a different genre of music.
Yeah, I think you're right, actually. I'm sitting here thinking, and I'm like, damn,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Go ahead. Come on.
No, I'm listening because I'm pretty sure it was about that time, because I just remember like the Tito Puente from the 80s.
You remember the old man? Okay.
Yeah.
I get it.
But I
understand why you process the information from a personal standpoint, but you know what I mean. My historical references, like most of the people we talking about, like you gotta understand, like even when you talk about folks like say when you get up to soul music, right? Most people start referencing soul music and then they start thinking like, oh, Aretha and Patty, and then they put them firmly in the 80s. No, people like, oh, Smokey Robinson, and they want to put him in the 80s. No, don't work. Smokey Robinson been making music for fucking goddamn 60 years, 6+ decades, period, point blank, across the board. So because you come in on one of those later decades, that is not where it starts.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with that.
Yeah, it's all good. We don't need to look, honest to God truth, we don't really need to get the rap. We just need to understand that the music that has been consistently made by Black folks has been stolen and appropriated in ways that Black folks have never really benefited from the music that defines our culture up until you get to about the 90s. Late 80s, early 90s, that's when Black folks start to reap the benefits slightly.
Very slightly.
Which is why I was trying to get there. Because we was talking about how motherfuckers wasn't in control of their own destiny. They was giving up all their paperwork, signing over fucking slave deals, recording forever. This is why Prince ended up with fucking the sign, the artist formerly known as with the sign and shit, because they were signing deals that were crazy. That's why Morris Day and the Time aren't allowed to perform as Morris Day and the Time, because the people who own Prince's estate will not let Morris Day and the Time use their motherfucking name. That's where I was trying to get to.
Do you remember when he did that performance? And I think it was on television where he shaved slave into his face, or did he write it on his face or something like that? And he performed.
He wrote it on his face.
He wrote it on his face. Okay, because I thought he had shaved it into like used clippers or something. I remember that. That was wild. Just that whole damn era of there was really like, I remember when I was working in radio, I got a chance to meet and hang out with Mr. Cheeks from the Lost Boys. And he pulled up to our studio in a Dodge Intrepid. And it wasn't like brand new or anything. It was just a normal everyday Dodge Intrepid. And I was like, this is Mr. Cheeks. This is, the dude who sang Renee. Like, this is the guy who at that time was doing lights, camera, action, like he was solid. He was solid hip hop to me, and always had been. And when I asked him about it, he said, it's real out here, man. I'm trying to live. I'm trying to longevity. And he started talking about the concept of wealth versus rich. where he was an early pioneer in my mind, not of it, but in my mind, he was the first one who planted the idea of POCs and Black people having real wealth. And he said he was going to do what it took. And he drove to North Carolina from New York to make an appearance in his own car. So he didn't have to pay anybody. He didn't have to, he pocketed all the money so that he could put it forward for he said he wanted to make sure that his family was taken care of for generations. And I was just like, but that conversation led into him telling me that the only way that he made any real money, and this was in the early 2000s, was doing shows. That's the only way he ever made money, because he didn't make hardly any money off of his record sales. He didn't, and because he got screwed so bad in the contract with the Lost Boys that he never really made any money off of that either. And it was just interesting to hear somebody who I looked up to as somebody like a real hip hop artist, just driving to North Carolina from New York in a Dodge Intrepid to do a show. That always killed me. That should have never happened. I know almost every damn word to Renee, and it's one of the classic hip hop songs in my mind. That's legitimately a real storytelling song. It's somebody that I happen to get a chance to meet. That's why, the only reason I have that story. I got a chance to meet other people too, and it just really shocked me what some of them, sometimes, I mean, that Mr. Cheek story is the only one that really stands out to me, though, because him talking about how he just didn't make any money unless it was with shows. And that's, I mean, from what I understand, that's always the way it's been in hip hop. That's the only way they get paid is or make real money is touring. Okay. Nobody else knows anything about that at all?
That was all you, buddy.
Okay. So there's nothing else to talk about apparently when it comes to this.
Oh, there's plenty to talk about.
I mean, I'm just saying, there's somebody in our group right now who is an ASCAP certified motherfucker, but doesn't want to say shit about this subject.
And Mookie, take us out.
All right. Well, this has been the No Filter Podcast. All right. Make sure you follow us on all our social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. All right. If you got any questions, make sure you hit us up at the No Filter Podcast at 2022@gmail.com. Did I say that right? I don't know. It sounds like I fucked it up.
You sound like you was like 2022.
Yeah. I didn't like how it came out either. Right. Send the messages at the No Filter Podcast 2022@gmail.com. All right. And we are done for the day. We out. I can't end it.